Hi guys, it's Quinn here with PTSD while black. Um, Shooting for Sunday for VEDA, and yeah, my speech is a little better today. I'm still having the headaches that are centralized, like right in here, with like over my left ear. It's a little sensitive to touch. Um, but it's been like that since the concussion. It's been sensitive to touch, like right in there, especially when I go to try to twist up my hair. And of course, twisting my hair today hurt my shoulder again. So, yay. That's fun. Um, but what are you gonna do, right? Um, the thing I wanted to talk about was something my mentor mentioned to me, which was about being a volunteer victim. That's really creepy. The dove is cooing at night. He doesn't normally coo at night. It might be because he hears me talking too, but whatever. Anyway, my mentor was talking about being a volunteer victim, and because I'm going through this process of trying to um, make amends with people and to allow myself to just own my part in things, whether I acted out of dishonesty or fear or judgment. Usually judgment comes from fear, but like basically the fear of my resources being threatened, whether they're social, security, or sexual resources, um, instincts. But yeah, I've found that through this amends process, I'm supposed to be doing this not because I feel like I should, which would come from a place of guilt, but instead from the place of wanting to own my crap. And so I'm like having to get my head around this. And I found that in a lot of my relationships where I've either abandoned friendships or I have just ghosted away from people because I didn't feel safe with them or what have you. Um, in some of those relationships, I was a volunteer victim to people where they could call me and just take out their crap on me. And instead of me having the courage to say, I don't feel like I can do this with you, or I don't feel safe with this approach, I would just disappear. Um, and so I'm having to go through the process of healing these relationships and recognizing that I've left people with the wreckage of my own behavior, of um, not knowing what happened and feeling um, cast aside or um, left left out in a way. Um, because the goal is for me to get to where I can say directly to people in the moment that I pause and say, I feel like I'm being manipulated here, or I feel like I'm being dominated here, or I don't feel my voice is being heard right now. Or I don't feel I can be a safe person for you right now. Just to be able to say those things in the moment versus just nodding my head or not saying anything and whoops, you won't see me tomorrow. To just be real with people, but to be rigorously honest and not brutally honest, which I tend to go on the opposite sides of the spectrum. That infinity loop thing that I was showing you? Well, I kind of tend to do that. I will tend to be brutally honest or completely dishonest and not say what's really going on for me, that I don't feel safe and validated. I don't feel I can be my full self, my black self, around people who are dismissing the Black Lives Matter movement or that are screaming all lives matter. I don't feel safe with people who can't acknowledge that my life matters. That kind of thing, that kind of example. So it's learning to be unapologetic, but not brutal, not beating up people. To be in the middle of that infinity loop of where I'm able to say, this does not work for me, and I want to change this process. And I've done this kind of step work, amends process, before the concussion, and it was very helpful for me. And since the concussion, there, especially since there have been so many changes to my personality since the concussion and since the car accident, um, it would be vital for me to be able to have these conversations with people. Like right now, even within my own household, my conversation, amends process is including saying, you know, I didn't tell you that I couldn't communicate to you in the best way, that um, I don't feel I can be supportive of the approach that you're doing right now. Or I've stayed and been your voluntary victim or your volunteer mom when there were things that you could have done for yourself. I didn't stay to empower you, um, or step back to empower you. And instead, I just played the role of expectation, and then I later resented you for it and treated you poorly. So it's learning to look at my part in this. And I'm still having a little head stuff, and so I hope I'm explaining this correctly or clearly. Um, but yeah, it's an opportunity to look at the things that, especially since the concussion, the things that I have done to try to regain my own comfort, um, when I was very in a very uncomfortable space, not knowing what my body will do, not knowing if I can use my words, being very confused and angry about what's happening in my body. And because I couldn't communicate it to you and I couldn't communicate it to myself, I abused our friendship. I neglected our friendship. Or I used harsh words, and that's not where I want it to be. Or I deflect it with humor. Um, yeah, to the goal is for me to kind of do this as an exercise to help in repairing my relationships with others. Um, so that even with my limited resources and abilities, that I can be the best friend that I can possibly be. And if I have to say, you know, I can't do this with you right now because brain reasons, okay. So at least I'm telling people that I can't have this conversation right now, or I'm getting triggered right now and I can't do this with you, so that I'm not leaving people having to question, having to guess, having to feel like, did my breath stink? You know, having to figure out, was it something that they did, and that I can just take ownership of my part. So that's kind of the thing that I'm having to do right now. My head hurts, so I'm gonna just stop right now. Um, so I'll talk more about this later. All right, till next time, peace.